Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Lunch and Learn for this election season. It is October 25th, so that brings us just about 2 weeks away from Election Day. So we're just super thankful that you all were able to join us this afternoon for this quick talk about why your vote counts this election season, and then also some things that you may see on a ballot. So just to quickly go over the agenda for today, we'll be doing a quick introduction to WAVE. We'll talk about, again, why voting matters. We'll talk about barriers to voting, what we might see on the ballot, and then we'll give you an opportunity to check your registration status live with us. So just to give you a little bit of background, so Wisconsin Anti-Violence Effort, or WAVE, as we're commonly known as, Educational Fund, is a statewide grassroots organization dedicated to preventing gun violence injuries and deaths through education and advocacy. And so we have actually, I didn't even introduce myself. Ooh, let's start this all over. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Deja Garner. I am the program director here at WAVE. I remembered to introduce myself because I would like to pass it over to Nyla, who's going to introduce herself to talk through a bit of why your vote still counts this election season. So Nyla, I'll pass it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Deja. Hi, everyone. My name is Nyla Fenner. I am a previous WAVE intern. I actually interned with WAVE back in 2019, so it's really good to be back working with this organization. The main point of our live today is really just reminding everyone once again that yes, voting is important, but the reason why it is so very important, especially nowadays, is because we want to be sending individuals to Congress or to represent us in government that reflect our views and our morals, or whatever it is that you guys want to be represented in the bigger and larger scale of the government. So voting is super important. Presidential, yes, obviously super important, but also these local elections, they do really count a lot. They mean a lot. And we really want people to be out and vocal about voting, sharing that they are voting, encouraging others who may not see the importance of voting to get out there and vote. Yeah, as you can see, there's a couple of oh, sorry, you're good. There's just like a little stat on the bottom of the screen there saying that only 61% of the state really is, out there doing that. So we really want to make sure that people know it's important to get out there. You can go to the next slide now. So yeah, as important as voting is, we know it's very important. There have been a couple issues that have come up recently that are hindering or providing, barriers to people that are trying to vote. So we've had a lot of polling places that have closed. There's a lack of hours for voting. There's a lack of volunteers at these stations, meaning that getting there and voting is becoming kind of an issue. And also we had from the previous election, we kind of saw that absentee ballot or voting by mail was kind of hindered. Previously, they've been cracking down a lot and just like being very specific about, the date that your ballot is received, how you fill it out, stuff like that. So it's really important that we're paying attention to these things and making sure that our vote is, counted, as there are a lot of barriers presented currently that are, hindering that. And in Milwaukee specifically, I know that there have been a couple of stations that have had to close down due to like lack of staff, hours were short. And there are a lot of resources out there in the community. There are a lot of organizations that are trying to aid people who might have transportation issues or like scheduling conflicts aside. Really, there are a lot of issues with voting, but there are also a lot of solutions and a lot of resources out there to help people be able to get out and to vote. So if you guys there's no excuse, is what I'm trying to say. In a very polite way, it's really important that we are getting out there and voting.
All right, thank you so much, Nyla. Now we'll move into just a quick Q&A section, and then I'll allow Nick to introduce himself really quickly, and then we will again just ask a few questions of Nick, and then talk a little bit more about the referendum in Milwaukee County. So I'll just let Nick kind of start with who he is and the work that he does with WAVE.
Sure. Thanks, Stacia. Thanks for having me on. Hi, everyone. I'm an attorney, but I work for WAVE, and I lead a large portion of WAVE's policy agenda throughout the state. So I work with our legislature to try to pass common sense gun legislation and other policies that WAVE promotes. And I'm really happy to be here to answer a couple of quick questions and talk about why voting is so important.
All right, absolutely. Thank you, Nick. So typically we see candidates that are up and down the ballot, but there are those unique times where we might see, something that folks have to vote on that don't have anything to do with candidates, and they're more about, policy priorities, budget priorities, things like that. So what are some examples of things that we might see on a ballot that wouldn't be a candidate per se?
Yeah, so I think, typically, like you said, what we're usually voting on are the candidates running for political office. But, pretty much every time you go to vote, you're also going to be asked to vote on what we call referendums. So essentially, those are issues that, have been put forward to the voters to decide if they believe that the state should move in, or, the municipality, whatever the level might be, should move in a certain direction on a policy issue. So to make it a little less abstract, I'll use the example of an advisory referendum that's on the Milwaukee ballot. So for everyone in Milwaukee County, you'll be seeing this advisory referendum if you vote. And the referendum essentially says, or actually what it says exactly is, should the Wisconsin legislature prohibit the import, sale, manufacture, transfer, or possession of semi-automatic military-style firearms, whose prohibition is allowed under the Wisconsin and United States Constitution. So essentially what it's asking you is whether or not you think that we should ban assault weapons. This is an advisory referendum, which means that unfortunately your vote won't decide 100% what the state legislature does. But I think it's a great opportunity for members or people in Milwaukee County to let the state legislature know that you think that we should ban assault weapons. We highly think, or we think at WAVE that it's really important that we promote this issue and ask you all to vote yes, that we should ban assault weapons. What we've seen is that while it's true that the majority of gun homicides are not through assault weapons, it's also incredibly clear, and the data points out that assault weapons are used in mass shootings most often. They're definitely the most effective weapon if your goal is to kill a large number of people, unfortunately. So this is a huge opportunity for members of Milwaukee to tell the state legislature that they think that we should ban assault weapons at the state level. So please go out and vote yes on this issue.
Thank you so much, Nick. And again, that is just, an example that is specific to Milwaukee County right now, like something that's happening and that you'll see on the ballot, whether you're early voting or you're voting on November 8th, but that could be a referendum that shows up in any county. So again, that's just a really great example of the things aside from a candidate race that you might see on a ballot. And so I will turn it back over to Nyla to just give us a little bit more context around how to figure out some information around your voter registration status and all of that. I know a lot of folks already kind of are familiar with My Vote, but some folks may not be. So I'll pass it over to Nyla to just show you, to give you examples of things that you might see on the My Vote site.
Yep. So as you guys know, you can see in bold, our election day is coming up really, really, really soon on November 8th. My Vote is just like a really great tool for you to check and see if you are registered to vote. It's really simple. You just go in, it'll ask for your name, first and last name, and your address. And from there, it'll pull up information about where you are to vote at, if you are currently registered to vote. If you need to update your address or anything like that, they can help you with that on there. If you're out of state for some reason, if you're at college or whatever it may be, if you need to request an absentee ballot, you can do that on the website. It's all really, really easy, super straightforward. It'll take you like 5 minutes or less. And it's just really good to know, like, okay, I'm set for this date. When I get there, there'll be no issues. I can go in and vote, and all my stuff's taken care of. And it's just like, it's so simple. It's really easy. So on the next slide, I made a QR code for everyone. If you want to go to myvote.com right now using that QR code to see what your registration status is like. If you're registered to vote, you can comment like, yeah, thumbs up, whatever it is. Really great tool. Don't mind if you guys share that at all. Please share it actually. Just, all over Milwaukee County. This is a good tool for you guys to use to see if you're all set to go for Election Day.
Yeah, so thank you, Nyla. And again, feel free. This is an interactive QR code. So we're actually just going to pause for about 5 seconds and allow folks to get out their smartphones if you have them. We also have included the website below, just in case you don't have a smartphone, but you can go ahead and even just type in My Vote Wisconsin into Google if that's easier, and then go through things there. But yeah, we'll just give everyone some time. I see some comments already saying, that folks are set. And so, yeah, go ahead, use that QR code, and then I'll just do like a little do. I hope that's not copyrighted. All right, so I think that's all that we have for you today. Again, just a really quick conversation on why your vote counts, some barriers to voting, what we see on ballots aside from candidates, and then also, checking your registration status and making sure that you're all set to vote on November 8th. Happy voting season, you all. And thank you all for your attention this afternoon. I hope that you learned a thing or two or were reminded of a thing or two. And if you still need some questions or need assistance, you can go ahead and email us here at admin@waveedfund.org, and someone will get back to you, whether it be me or one of my other coworkers. Thank you, Nick and Nyla, for being here, and you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.